Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine. Let me just turn my video on there. My name is Catherine. I work with SEB Housing. So tonight I'm going to run the lottery for the 68 affordable rental units at Modera, South Shore, and Marshfield. So I'll get the lottery underway in just a few minutes. If you have any questions during this session, you can go ahead and either type them into the chat option in Zoom, or you can unmute yourself. When you came into the meeting, you were automatically muted just to minimize any outside noise during the presentation. But if you have questions, let me know. And this meeting is being recorded and will be saved on SEB Housing's YouTube channel for anyone who wasn't able to attend that wants to view it. So before I do the lottery, before I do the drawing, just want to give you some background information on how many applicants applied, and all of this information is going to be given to you in an attachment to an email tonight, along with the waiting list. So all of this information will be in writing for you later on tonight as well. So all households should already have a lottery application number, and that's in the form of a series of numbers. So in this case, your number is between A.001 and A.0118. Let me know if you don't have that. It should have been emailed to you when you were approved for the lottery. There are 68 total affordable units. There was 114 total completed applications, so there's going to be 114 households in this lottery. The application numbers go up to 118, you might have heard me say, and that's because we had to remove 4 duplicate applications. So we were left with 114. There's 26 one-bedroom apartments. For those one bedrooms, there are 41 applicants. 2 of the one-bedroom units have sensory accessible features, so visual or hearing impairment features, and there's 1 applicant who requires those accessibility features, so they're going to have priority for that one-bedroom unit that has the features. There were no applicants who were looking for a one-bedroom disabled accessible apartment, which there are 2 of those, so those will be included with just the non-accessible one-bedroom apartments. So everybody would be eligible for those if you applied for a one-bedroom. There's also 28 2-bedroom affordable apartments. There's 46 applications for those 28 units. 2 of the 2 bedrooms are disabled accessible, and there were 7 applicants who require the accessibility features of the 2-bedroom disabled accessible units. So they're going to have priority for those disabled accessible apartments. There's also 14 3-bedroom apartments. Those are the most popular by a little bit. There's 53 applicants, and 2 of those 3 bedrooms are disabled accessible. There was 3 applicants who indicated a need for the disabled accessible unit features. So again, those 3 households are going to have priority for the disabled accessible apartments. So there's an order of priority on the waiting list after we have the results from tonight's lottery. And back when you completed your application, you indicated, and then SEB Housing confirmed what your household type was. So you're either considered a type 1, 2, or type 3 household. So what that is really just corresponds with the size of your family. So if you have a household with 1 person in it, you're likely a type 1 household, and it goes up from there. So keep in mind that for the 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom waiting list, larger type 2 or 3 households are going to have priority over type 1 households. And that's because the affordable program is designed to so that households don't have priority for apartments that their family might not require. There's also local preference for several of the affordable units. So if you answered yes to the local preference question on the lottery application, and you confirmed that, or that was confirmed for you in your lottery eligibility email where your lottery application number is found. So when the drawing takes place tonight, you're not going to know exactly where you stand on the waiting list because of these different priorities. So I have to sort the results from tonight's drawing, and create the waiting list based off of these priorities, meaning type 3 households will have priority for type 3 or 3-bedroom units. And on the local preference list, anyone who qualifies for local preference has priority over households who do not have local preference if they're the same household type. So there's going to be 2 lottery drawings, and I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see those happening in real time. So I'm going to be using a website called random.org. It's a really basic looking website, and it just allows us to automatically sort the numbers as a drawing would without the room for error that we might have with pulling them out of a box. And obviously it's instantaneous, so you'll be able to see the drawing results tonight. And like I said, I'll have to sort those results, but you'll be able to see it happening. So the first drawing I'll be doing is the local preference drawing, and that's going to include the 26, I believe, 26 households who indicated they either live in Marshfield or work full-time within the town, or they have a child going to Marshfield Public Schools. So I'll insert the application numbers for those 26 households into random.org, and it will generate a random order. I'm going to share my screen just to do just a run through of that. So it's not going to be the actual drawing, but just to give you a sense of what that's going to look like, I'll show you that in just a minute. And then after I do the local preference drawing, I'm going to do the general drawing, and that is going to include all 114 application numbers. And again, the randomizer will pick a random order, and that is the drawing, or the 2 drawings. So a question here, I'm not sure I received the lottery application number, I assume you mean. You got the jot form email. So yeah, your jot form email was the instantaneous email that you received when you submitted the lottery application. So that kind of is a bounce back email that you get. Excuse me. But later on in the, when someone from SCB Housing actually reviewed your application, you would have received either a denial email or a eligibility email. If you want to send me a private message with your first and last name, I can look up whether or not you have a lottery application number. I'll have that spreadsheet ready whenever you are. So while you're doing that, I want to show you the demonstration. One second here. The demonstration for how this is going to work on random.org. And again, this is not the drawing itself. This is just a simulation so you can see what it's going to look like. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. And again, this is just an example of how it's going to go. You should be able to see my screen right now. All right. So I'm not sharing the correct screen there. Hold on one second. One minute. Now my screens are mixed around. So I'm just going to go to random.org so I can make sure I'm sharing the right one here. One moment. Okay. So this is the really basic website that I mentioned, random.org. I'm going to scroll down to list randomizer, and I'm going to, just for demonstration purposes, type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I copy and paste the actual lottery application numbers, they're going to be in the form that you're familiar with, so the A.001, for example, instead of just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to click randomize. This is just a simulation. So in this case, that is the order that the computer generated for the drawing, if that was the drawing itself. So you will see that happening in just a few minutes. All right, so let me just look up this attendee's number here and just give me 1 minute. And then we'll get to the drawings. I'm not seeing a number for you. I'm just going to quickly go into a shared email address that a lot of the emails for these jot form lotteries normally have. One more second here, I apologize. Most of you probably got your, in here, I'm gonna get the password. One more second here. I don't see, I don't see a number for you. And I don't see an email that would have sent you that number. But if you could either send me another message here or email info@sdbhousing.com. I'm going to put that in here just so everybody can see. This is kind of our main info email address. If you can send an email to that, I can have someone look into that for you tomorrow just to confirm what the follow-up was from your application. So you do not have a lottery application in this lottery, unfortunately. All right, so I'm going to just give you a few more pieces of information before I do the actual drawings themselves. So the random.org, I'll be using that for the drawings. And then again, it's important to remember, I know I've said this a couple times, but the results from tonight's drawing are not the final order of the waiting list. So I'll be sorting the results after the call tonight into the different waiting lists, taking household type, local preference, and whether or not you have a need for a disabled accessible or a sensory accessible apartment. So after the lottery, an email will be sent to all 114 applicants, and that will have more information on next steps, and it will also have the waiting list attached to it. So there'll be a PDF with the waiting list for each of these unit types, and you'll be able to see where your lottery number is positioned relative to other lottery applications. And keep in mind, too, that if you had an interest for more than one unit size, you're going to be on the waiting list for more than one unit size. So if you applied for a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom, you're going to look for your application number on both of those lists. And so when you receive that email, you're going to notice that the top households on each waiting list are highlighted in green, and that's because those households are going to be immediately asked to move forward in the process by submitting their or by completing a lease application with the leasing office. So that's the next step in the process. Your contact information is going to be sent to or shared with the leasing office, and you will also have their information after tonight or after the lottery. So keep in mind that the leasing office might invite more households to complete lease screenings than there are available units, just to get the process moving and to not just be screening one household at a time. The good news is usually more than one person needs to be screened, excuse me, to be able to fill the unit. So if there were 10 applicants for 10 units, usually they would need to do some more outreach, and not all 10 applicants would end up leasing because people change their minds, they are no longer eligible or what have you. So if you're further down on the waiting list than you would like to be, that doesn't mean you won't have a chance to move forward to the next step in the process. You may be contacted at a later date, even if you're not highlighted in green after tonight. So if you're found to be lease eligible by the leasing office, the households with the highest position on the waiting list will have the first chance to select and reserve an apartment at Modera South Shore. So, like I said, if for any reason anyone drops off the waiting list, we'll move down the waiting list, and the leasing office will be contacting other applicants as well. And important too to keep in mind that SCB Housing, we have only completed an initial program screening for your household, so you haven't yet been found lease eligible by the leasing office, and you also have not submitted your income, asset, and tax documentation, which will be necessary after you're found to be lease eligible by the property. So once you've been found lease eligible and you've reserved an apartment with the management team, SCB Housing will be notified, and that's the point in the process where you'll be required to submit your, pay stubs, for example, and all of that. So you should have received a guide called the Documentation Requirements Guide. There was a link to that on the email that you had your lottery application number. And hopefully you've been able to gather some of that information. It lets you know how many pay stubs we'll need, how many tax returns, and you'll have about 10 days once we get to that point in the process to get the information over to SCB Housing. We have been told by Modera South Shore that the first available affordable apartments are going to be ready for occupancy immediately following the lottery and then any screening. So once you're found eligible, you should not have much of a wait at all if you are looking to lease soon. All right, so I'm ready to do the drawing. If anyone has any follow-up questions just from what I have shared with you, please let me know, and I'll get things set up here. I'm gonna go back to random.org. All right, so share my screen again here. So I have a list just to kind of keep things a little bit easier to read on the screen. I have a Excel sheet here that has lottery application numbers that are going to be inserted into this list randomizer. So I'm first going to do the local preference drawing for Modera South Shore. So I'm going to take these 26 application numbers. It looks like 27 just because of the column header there. And I'm going to take these 26 numbers, and this is the local preference drawing for Modera South Shore. I'm going to go to the list randomizer. And I'm going to make sure that I have selected all of them here. Copy. And these are the 26 households who indicated that they have local preference for Marshfield. So there's 26 numbers here. I'm going to first do this drawing, and then I will do before letting you see the results there, I'm going to move on to the second drawing, which has all 114 application numbers in it. So I'm going to click randomize, and this is the local preference drawing for Modera South Shore. All right, so I'm going to take all of these. This is the order of the local preference drawing, and again, just to make it easier to read, I'm going to plop everything in here, and just give me a moment to make it a little bit easier to read. I'm going to kind of move things around to the next column so you can see the position and then also the number. All right, so I'm going to save those results. This is the local preference drawing there. Those are the results for local preference households. I'm going to now move on to the general drawing, and I'll come back and let you see both of the results so you're able to find your lottery application number. And if you don't see it, since there are going to be 114 numbers on the screen, I will look it up for you. All right, so that was the local preference drawing. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to clear out of this completely just so we can go to random.org, the home page, and go to list randomizer again. And I'm going to go back to my Excel sheet. This is the general drawing. So all 114 application numbers are here representing, everyone who applied for the lottery. So I'm going to copy and paste those application numbers here. And this is everyone who applied for the lottery, not just local preference households, but those who don't have local preference. And I'm going to click randomize. And this is the general drawing for Modera South Shore. And again, I'm going to put these results onto an easier to read spreadsheet here so I can let you have a look, and then also let me know after I scroll down if you don't see your number, on these, I will find it for you. So you can let me know in the comments if you would like me to look up your number. So the local preference drawing is only for local preference households. That gives us an order of priority for the local preference households on these waiting lists. It doesn't mean that you have a higher chance to be, to get a unit. It just means that we need an order of priority on the local preference list. All right, so, or among local preference households, I should say. So this is the local drawing results. I'm going to scroll down. As you can see A.009, that is the application number that was drawn first. We don't know if that household is a type 3 household, a type 2 household. We don't know how many or which bedroom sizes they applied for. So unfortunately, it doesn't give you a ton of information, but generally, to be called earlier is better. So I'm going to scroll down. Those are the 26 households for local preference. And then I'm going to go over to the general drawing. Let's see if I can maximize this a little bit. And the application number that was drawn first for the general drawing overall is A.0062. It's going to go down from there. So again, we don't know what unit size any of these households applied for. I still need to sort the results. So you can see the first 19 numbers here. I'm going to scroll down. There's 114 total, so it'll take just a second. And if you don't see your number once I get to the bottom, or if you just want confirmation, feel free to write that number in the chat feature in Zoom, or if you are not at a computer right now, you can unmute yourself and let me know. Some of you may have called in. So what I'm going to do tonight is sort these results onto the waiting list. And the waiting list will be sent to you later on this evening. Almost at the bottom here. All right, I'll go back up to the top, and I see there's some chats here. Okay, yep, the first person here who asked for confirmation of where their number was drawn, A.0066. You were drawn 64th in the general drawing. You were not on the local list. 0093. You were drawn 41st in the general drawing, not on the local list. 0011. You were drawn 19th in the general drawing, not on the local list. 0020. You were drawn 63rd in the general drawing, not on the local list. Yep, 0028. You were drawn 23rd in the general drawing. 0045. You were drawn 6th in the general drawing, not on the local list. 0037. You were drawn 96th in the general drawing, not on the local list. 0048. You were drawn 81st in the general drawing. And on the local list, it looks like you have number 18. You were drawn 18th on the local list. So you're on both lists. Just because you're going to be on both, just a reminder there, you're going to be on both the local preference waiting list and everyone actually is going to be on both the local preference waiting list and the general waiting list. Even if you don't have local preference, you're going to look for your number on the local preference waiting list. You're just going to have a lower position on those waiting lists than the households who do qualify for local preference. So it's a little confusing the way it's worded on our materials, but that is the way that the program wants it specified. So 0018, you were drawn 21st on the local list and 108th on the general list. 0010, so 10, you were drawn 61st in the general list and 2nd in the local list, or local, I shouldn't say list, the local drawing. So question here, does this mean I'm number 96 for an apartment? No, because this is these are the drawing results. So the lottery was just held. These are the results of the drawings, but I still need to sort the results onto the waiting list. So we don't know how many people ahead of your 96th position, for example. We don't know how many people on the list or on this drawing applied for the same unit types that you did. Maybe a lot of people ahead of you didn't apply for the same, a 2-bedroom, for example. And we don't know how many people ahead of you are type 1 households, type 2 households. So there's a few things that once I get through the numbers, I'm going to show you the preference for the priority. What if you misplace your number? So you're going to want to try to go back to the, you're going to go back to your emails and try to find any emails from info@SCB Housing or no reply at SCB Housing. But if you can't find it, feel free to email or send me a direct message now so I can try to look it up for you and just let me know your email address or your name. Yep, so the local list is for Marshfield, meaning households who live in Marshfield, work full-time in the town, or have children going to Marshfield Public Schools are going to have higher positions on the local preference waiting list when compared to the same type household who doesn't have local preference. I'll show you in just a minute from the info packet so you can get more of a sense of what that means. I just want to get through these other numbers here, so not letting anybody wait around. So 0117, you were 17th on the local drawing and 55th on the general drawing. So question here, will we know our spot on the waiting list by the end of the week? Yep, you'll know tonight. I'll be working on that later on tonight. You should have an email from me hopefully by 10 or so. It just takes me a little while, but at the very latest, it'll be tomorrow morning. What's the difference between type 1, 2, and 3? I'll show you that as well right now. So I'm going to open up the, just give me a second here to get the local, the info pack is what I mean to say. The info pack for this property. So I'm going to pull up that. It gives you a sense, or it gives you a list of how the waiting lists are going to be sorted by priority. So some of you might be familiar with this document just because it was part of the marketing materials for the property. But so this is the information packet. I'm going to scroll down. I forget what page it is for household type, but your household type was confirmed when you submitted your application. It was also confirmed on the email that you received confirming that you were eligible for this lottery. So these are the types right here. So if you're a 6-person household, you're a type 3 household, all 5-person households are type 3 households. And you can see it kind of the breakdown on your screen here. A 1-person household is a type 1 household, and so forth. So page 13, I believe it is, or maybe page 11, is where the waiting lists are. So when I am sorting the results for the 3-bedroom local preference waiting list tonight, you can see here who has top priority. So type 3 local preference households have top priority for one of the 3-bedroom apartments. Eligible type 2 households have priority after non-local preference type 3 households. So as you can see, the household size is weighted more heavily than whether or not your local preference, even on the local preference list, because the program wants to make sure that households don't have priority for unit sizes that they may not require. So this is how I'm going to be sorting the results tonight. I'm going to be looking at all type 3 local preference households, followed by type 3 non-local preference households, and going down the list here. And to give you a sense of how many people applied for each of these, I kind of already went through that, but you're going to be getting this handout tonight as well, along with the waiting list. But this will kind of give you a little bit of a breakdown here. I'll share my screen again so you can see. who applied, how many people applied for which unit type here. So if you're really interested in the 3-bedroom apartment and you're a type 3 household, there was 53 applicants who were type 3 households for these 3-bedroom apartments. 12 of those applicants qualified for local preference. So that gives you just a little bit of a breakdown there. So I know there's a couple other questions here. Do you know how many townhouses are available for affordable housing? Yes, I believe that was in the info packet and the description. 8. It's in the description here on page 3. So the apartments, mix of 1, 2, and 3 households, and there are 8 townhomes that are affordable. And then, like I said, you will get the results from me tonight. It looks like I have one other message too here. I want to try to find this application number for you. So I just have to stop sharing again for just a moment while I pull up this spreadsheet here. And so, like I said, you'll get the results, meaning the waiting lists and next steps from me later on tonight. So there won't be much of a I'm looking up that email for you as well here, and I'm not seeing your email address on the database that has everybody who is eligible for this lottery. So I will check the other email addresses that I checked earlier for yours as well, and I'll email you tonight, just a heads up to the person who emailed me. Yep, thanks everybody for your attendance, and we'll be in touch very soon. You'll get an email from me tonight, hopefully within a few hours. So I will look forward to hearing from you, and if you have any questions in the meantime, just email info@scbhousing.com or give us a call, but we'll be in touch very soon. Thanks everyone. Good night.